Family of the U.S. soldier who crossed into North Korea last week is now begging American officials to fight for his safe return. U.S. officials Monday said that they are working to contact North Korea through the UN. The country has given very few details about the discussions so far. Travis King joined a tour group visiting the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea and apparently sprinted across the border. It is not clear why he did this. In the week and a half since, King is believed to have been detained by North Korea. I want to bring in Hurd, the director of the Weinberg College Center for International and Area Studies at Northwestern. Ian, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Ian, right now, there's no word on the fate of Travis King. His family says that his impulsive move to dash over the border was uncharacteristic of him. At this point, what is top of mind for you about this? What is the most concerning thing?
Well, it's an incredibly sad case. What he's done is sort of ostentatiously dangerous, and he'll be really lucky if he gets out alive. He's also put the American government in a really tough spot because the U.S. doesn't have a whole lot of tools for bringing people back from North Korea, since the North Korean government has such a closed attitude towards relations with the outside.
I mean, you say he'll be lucky if he gets out alive. Tell us more about that.
Well, the North Korean government has made a long-term strategy of basically using anxiety that it can create in the outside world as its tool of foreign policy. So it uses every opportunity it can to try to create fear and discomfort among outsiders, and uses that to try to extract concessions from the U.S. and other governments. So I would imagine that they'll be using this fellow as a tool in that game, and whatever they can do to make his situation worse, they will see as a virtue, because it might increase their leverage relative to the U.S. government.
Yeah, and we can't help but think about Otto Warmbier, the American student who was held by North Korea, who was in such bad physical and mental condition. He died within days of finally being released. How does being held by North Korea compare with a country like Russia that we see in the headlines all the time? How concerned should Travis's family be?
Well, I think I'm sorry to say that they should be extremely concerned, but we don't know very much at all about the thinking inside the North Korean government, and there's very little publicly available information. I think what the U.S. government is doing now is probably the best strategy, and that is to keep things really quiet. I think the National Security Council is working full tilt behind the scenes to try to get information, but by not amplifying the anxiety, the U.S. is doing a very good job to try to get him home safely.
You know, we've heard about prisoners in Russia so much recently. North Korea, you touched on this earlier, is complicated in a different way, obviously led by Kim Jong-un. Tell me more about this leader. Why is working with him and his government so complicated?
The government there for decades now has been running essentially a gigantic social experiment of trying to run a government in a kind of autarkic dictatorship that's not working. It's starving the people, but they keep doing it because they have the power to keep themselves in office. So it's a little bit like the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia in the 1970s, a giant failed social experiment, but the people at the top keep running it and everybody else suffers from it. So it's a very closed system, and that makes King's situation much worse than somebody in Russia, simply because the Russian prison system is a little more transparent, horrible as it is. So the North Korean security apparatus is so tightly closed as to be almost impenetrable to at least the public eye.
I mean, it must be incredibly opaque if, in comparison, Russia is looking transparent, certainly. Very last question in just about 20 seconds. Do you believe that North Korea is among, if not the worst country for an American to be detained in?
Well, there's a lot of places you wouldn't want to be detained. I think what's exceptional about North Korea is how opportunistic the government is about exploiting Americans that it captures and treating them badly, trying to get concessions out of the American government.
Okay. Ian Hurd, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.